What's up, guys, and welcome to ASL Week 3 Power Rankings. I'm your host, Ian, and once again, I am joined with Graham.
Hello, I'm Graham.
And let's jump right into the picks. At number 14, I have the Master, and you have Malone.
Yeah.
You talk about Malone.
So I had Malone at 14. It was a pretty close game, and he did get a little unlucky, I believe, with the flinch on the Talonflame. But overall, I didn't really see any reason to move Malone up any further. So he did have a win, and I think Demaster lost to Cody this week, who was, I guess, a better opponent than Cam, so I felt that having Demaster over Malone was pretty justified.
Internet is being pretty poor right now, but let's power on through. I decided to put the Master down a spot from last week because I felt like Malone did deserve to move up, and the Master has not shown a reason to keep his spot. This week he actually lost to TJ, not Cody, and it was a pretty convincing loss of 4-0.
I mixed that up, yeah, my bad.
Yeah, a pretty convincing loss of 4-0. And he did get some hacks in his favor that didn't end up affecting the outcome at all. But yeah, he was talking about if he got more hacks, he would have won. But I don't think that's really a solid reason to say that he deserved a win.
No.
It was a pretty convincing win, I would say, against him. So I don't think I think he is less deserving of being in that 13 slot than Malone is. Malone's game was a lot closer. He was outplaying Cam at the beginning of the game, most of the game, and it ended up being really close, coming down to some hats. And honestly, like, he showed signs of winning his games and therefore shows more potential going forward into the season. So that's why I decided to bump him up a bit.
Fair point. And at 12, I have Keister. Pretty much got manhandled this entire game. I didn't like the fact that he didn't bring any hazard removal versus your team because you have a lot of hazard setters, and I think it was pretty obvious he was going to be having effect, especially with like a Zapdos and all the mods on his team. Just the fact that he didn't bring hazard removal was really weird to me. I didn't really understand that.
Yeah, I felt like Keister didn't really give his all in prep that game. He did bring the very interesting BizDev Kingdra set, which did not end up working for him. But outside of that, his prep seemed pretty lackluster. Once again, the no removal when I have shown to really enjoy hazard stacking with the Roserade in my past 2 games is definitely a bit interesting, especially considering he had such a good hazard removal option in Zapdos. And yeah, like, getting 6-0'd is definitely not what you want to see out of a game. It's been the most dominative win thus far of the season, and therefore he did kind of have to drop a lot down, especially considering how close all of the other games have been so far and how close all the records are. So at number 11, we both have Shadow, actually, and Shadow pulled out a big upset versus Hutch. It was quite an impressive game. Ended up quite close, but Shadow played phenomenally. Despite a fair few crits against him, he definitely showed through with some really strong prep and play. I would place him higher, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to keep up this momentum and win his future games yet. So it's just kind of wait and see at the moment, but definitely extremely strong prep and play versus Hutch. So I'd like to see how he goes in the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, I thought he played pretty impressive versus Hutch. He got solo set up to win the game, and it did. Played pretty solid. I didn't really see any glaring misplays from Shadow. I think he played a solid game and came up with the W. Like you said, though, I want to see a little bit more consistency from Shadow before I move him up higher.
Yeah, at number 10, we both have Brad in the St. Louis Samurats. And man, is he falling down. Why don't you talk about that?
I was very unimpressed with his prep this week. It didn't really make that much sense. It was kind of awkward, and he kind of got manhandled by TCP this week. So I didn't really see any reason to move him up over some other coaches. And honestly, this hasn't been the best season for Brad so far.
Yeah, it's definitely been quite a shock to see Brad doing so poorly in the beginning of the season, but honestly, his play has just not been up to scratch. We saw him try to set up the delta box way too easily. He set up a Z Sunny Day when he realistically didn't need speed boost for anything on his team.
Yeah.
So he just kind of wasted turns there. He lets the Coco get chipped down way too easily. He's done that in the past.
Yeah.
Even just having the Coco alive to keep electric terrain up would have stopped the Zygarde from sweeping because it would have stopped the rest. So just like, obviously he shouldn't have needed to expect that set, but just like a few misplays in his game plan really has been costing him throughout the season, so he did drop down quite significantly.
Yeah.
At number 9, we have a difference of opinion here. I have TCP and you have Waylord. TCP did play very well this week, and I think it's because he's starting to see what his team can do. He's realizing that his team is going to be better off being more stally than utilizing the offense of the Infernape and Thunderous. So he's bringing a lot more bulk, it seems, and that's just definitely worked out for him, making it difficult to break down. So yeah, he picked up quite a solid win with some really good prep, so he is going to be moving up a bit, which has put him at the top of all the 1-2 teams for this week. Yeah. But yeah, we'll just see if he's able to continue this newfound momentum.
Yeah, I had Cam at number 9 because I felt this week he relied a lot on, I guess, hacks to kind of win. And it was a really close game, and he's played pretty well this season. But with TCP, the reason I put him above Cam was just because his prep this week, I think, was pretty amazing. The Zygarde set for the Pangros is something I've actually considered doing before. He actually did it, though, so credit to him. The set was actually pretty cool. And just, like you said, he's getting more comfortable with his team, and I think we're going to see a lot more from TCP, so I'm a little higher.
I did decide to put Cam a bit higher. I probably would have done that even if Cam did end up losing by a similar margin that he won by, because Cam has beaten TCP in a pretty convincing fashion of a 3-0 victory last week. So I think that Cam being 2-1 is definitely going to be enough to push him above TCP, but not really going to be pushing him above the other 2-1 teams that have shown to be more dominative in their wins. So yeah, number 7, I have TJ and you have Ian.
Yeah, it was really hard for me between 7, 6, and 5. They're really even. I put Ian at number 7. I think I felt that his win was a little less dominant than TJ's win, who had 1 spot higher. And he's played pretty well this season. He did get a little bit lucky last week, and this week he played pretty solid, but I felt that TJ played a lot more solid this week. So I put TJ higher. But still a very solid game from Ian this week.
Yeah, I decided to put TJ a bit lower because I thought that the quality of wins have been lower. He won against the Demaster, which I've currently got at last, and he also won against Keister, which, while he was doing quite well in the beginning of the first week, is now currently residing at 12th. So the quality of wins aren't quite as impressive as the people above him, or even like some of the people below him, but he has shown to be playing well and prepping well, so I didn't think it fair to put him any lower than this, but I don't think he's earned as high a spot as Ian's earned, for example. At number 6, you have TJ here, and I have Susie.
Yeah, I have TJ at 6, and mostly I've kind of already covered this, but I really like his prep this week. His prep was pretty cool with the Baton Pass, Nasty Plot Mew. Kind of synergized well with the team he brought, and I think he's played really solid. Been rather impressed with his play the last couple of games, and I think it will pick up as he gets more comfortable with his team. So.
Yeah. I put Susie here because I felt like he wasn't really in control of the game at all in this loss. He could have done a lot more different in his prep. He didn't bring any special attackers, which was wild. He didn't bring Embor, which would have been a really good breaker against such a defensive team such as Cody's. So he just didn't really bring much in his prep, and it just showed that he had no way of dealing with the aggro. He needed crits to get through it, and then even once he did get through it, he then had no way of dealing with the stored power for Fable. So he just kind of felt lost the entire time. That being said, I still place him above TJ and Cam because he was 2-0 before this. He had been playing quite well in the past. I think he probably just got a bit confident and then threw it away a bit.
Yeah. I basically agree with everything you said. He never really had control of the game, and by the time he finally got rid of the aggron, it was too late at that point. He's lost too many resources to actually pull anything back from that game. But yeah, he did play really well the past 2 weeks, so I had him a little higher on the number 5.
Yeah, I had Ian at number 5. Hacks aside from week 2, he has 2 of the highest quality wins in the server right now against myself and AZ, who are both extremely high up. I've got them both within the top 3 right now. So like quality of wins is definitely going to be putting him quite high up here, and he did show to be quite dominative versus AZ in my opinion. He won 3-0, but he made like really strong plays. HP Poison Vinny was really strong in that matchup, and the way that he played Garchomp was quite effective. He did stack it a bit prematurely, but other than that, he played quite well, and it showed in quite a strong win against AZ, who's, like you can see here, 3rd.
Yeah. I had AZ at 4, mostly because I felt, well, he didn't play necessarily bad, and his prep was a little off because he didn't really have too much for Garchomp, but overall, if you look at the last couple of weeks he's played, I think he's played lesser opponents than some, like Hutch, for example, and where Hutch played TCP. AZ's only played Malone and Shadow, who I have in the bottom, I guess, for the lower half of the rankings. So I just kind of want to see him beat an actual higher-up opponent before I can move him over.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that reasoning, but I placed Hutch a bit lower because Hutch lost to one of those aforementioned lower-ranked coaches in Shadow.
Yeah.
He played a fairly solid game, but I felt like he got tilted after the Araquanid set, even once he had finished dealing with it in not super effective way, but it was dealt with. He ended up stacking the Charizard effectively against the Togekiss, which didn't make sense to me. He forced a Roost out of it, and then he went onto the Charizard when the Togekiss didn't have to Roost and therefore got Toxic, which was just spelt doom for the Charizard. And instead of keeping it as stack fodder, he opted to stay in to do approximately 20% total to it, which didn't end up helping his case at all. So just like, he didn't seem to know what he was doing once the Araquanid had taken care of a lot of his pieces. So I felt like he deserved to drop a little bit lower just because of that. And then with AZ, usually I would consider the ranking to be a little bit less impressive if you're up against less impressive coaches. But the dominance that is exhibited in the wins versus those 2 coaches has kept them up for me. Because week 1 was a 4-0, I believe, and then his week 2 was a 5-0. So both very strong wins that showed that he 100% deserved to win and 100% deserves that higher spot, in my opinion.
All right, fair point. Moving on to the top 2. I have you at number 2. I felt you just played really well this week. You dominated keys for the entire game, and you haven't really played bad at all through this entire thing. You got hacked in week 2, which kind of led to your loss there, but other than that, you've been really impressive, and I think you've been one of the more impressive coaches this season. So I put you at number 2.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The last week one was definitely felt like an outlier performance overall. A lot of things went wrong in the previous game, and then definitely bounced back with a convincing 6-0 win. That just like shows that I deserve to be up in this top section, especially considering it was against a historically considered quite strong coach, even though his performance hasn't been that great this season thus far.
Yep.
At number 1, we both have Cody, who was the only undefeated team left.
Yeah, being the only undefeated team, I didn't see any reason to put him below anybody else because they haven't lost yet. So until he loses, I can't put him lower. But he played really well this week. He got Aggron set up, even though Susan didn't really prep for it properly. It still put in work, and he just had there was no way Cody was going to lose this week with the team he brought versus Susie's. So.
Yeah, I spoke to Cody before, and apparently the Reuniclus was also Calm Mind, and the Muck was Curse Figgy Berry. So he just had setup on setup on setup. It was very ridiculous, and I don't know, he definitely deserves this spot, but I gotta say, his opponents haven't seemed to have prepped very well for him. I'm not sure if that's just everyone sleeping on the team until they actually have to face it, but it seems like his games have just been up against teams that didn't really know what they were doing up against him. That's not to say that he didn't play and prep well. He definitely did, and he definitely has shown to deserve this spot. But I'd like to see if anyone can actually put in that extra effort to make sure that they can have a fighting chance against him and see if they can pull out a win versus him.
Yeah. Well, that's been the Week 3 power rankings. I'll see you guys in Week 4, and have a good day. Bye.
See ya.